Are wedding bells near? That's the question electrifying fans across the globe as whispers swirl around Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo Jung's rumored romance. But what truly sent the internet into a frenzy was the unexpected reaction from Park Bo-gum's own family: warm, emotional, and shockingly revealing. Could this be more than just a casual connection? Let's dive in with red carpet revealed and uncover the truth behind the smiles, the silence, and the secrets. It began with a whisper, barely audible, barely noticeable, a dinner, a visit, a glance too long. But in the world of Korean entertainment, even the faintest sound can echo like a thunderclap. And this was more than a whisper. It was the quiet tremor that preceded an emotional earthquake. The unseen meeting that changed everything. On a brisk evening in March, Park Bo-gum was spotted entering a private hanok in Bukchon. Known for its exclusivity and tight security, locals barely raised an eyebrow. After all, stars like Bo-gum are often seen in quiet corners of Seoul. But what unfolded next turned an ordinary night into the spark of a nationwide mystery. 30 minutes later, a sleek black sedan pulled up. Out stepped two familiar figures, Park Bo-gum's parents. There was no media alert, no agency press release, no entourage, just the three of them, under the warm glow of traditional lanterns, entering a place reserved not for deals or scripts, but for something far more personal. Inside that hanok, Kim Yoo Jung was waiting. A history etched in stardust. Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo Jung's story began on set, where fairy tale met fiction in Love in the Moonlight. Their chemistry was magnetic, raw, and disarmingly genuine. As their characters grew close under the moonlit skies of Joseon, something flickered behind the scenes. Something no scriptwriter could orchestrate. Back then, they laughed it off. "We're just colleagues," Bo-gum would say, eyes betraying nothing. Yoo Jung would nod politely, avoiding the topic with the grace only years in the spotlight could teach. But the questions never stopped. Because fans, stylists, co-stars, they all saw it. The unspoken rhythm, the invisible thread. But no one expected this next chapter. The gesture that couldn't be ignored. The hanok dinner would have remained a secret, until a hotel staff member anonymously confirmed an unusual request made prior to the gathering. Traditional Korean meals for 6. Served without staff presence, with each guest's dietary preferences meticulously detailed. Who goes to such lengths for a casual dinner? But the true shock came days later, when Bo-gum's parents were seen again, this time in Jeju. The destination? A private villa owned by the family. The moment they entered, cameras discreetly rolled. 2 hours later, Kim Yoo Jung arrived. No assistants, no stylist, just a small travel bag and an expression caught somewhere between nerves and certainty. They were no longer hiding. But they weren't confessing either. A family's quiet endorsement. The turning point came not with a press conference, but with something far more powerful, a silence pregnant with implication. While tabloids speculated wildly, the families, especially Bo-gum's, said nothing. And that, in the entertainment world, speaks volumes. Then, unexpectedly, an elderly acquaintance of the Park family gave a candid interview to a small lifestyle magazine. She said she'd known the Bo-gum family for years. Her words? "His mother told me she felt peace watching Yoo Jung speak. Like watching someone who already belonged in their home." She paused, before adding softly, "Not every girl gets invited to the ancestral house." This statement wasn't a rumor. It wasn't a theory. It was a confession hidden in plain sight. The bracelet. What followed was an avalanche of subtle details, previously overlooked, suddenly charged with new meaning. A simple bracelet worn by Yoo Jung, identical to one Bo-gum had worn during a trip to Paris. A family heirloom ring Bo-gum's father had been seen with last year, now reportedly worn by Yoo Jung during a low-profile event in Gangnam. No one said a word. But every photo was a sentence. Every silence, a paragraph. The ceremony that wasn't. In late March, a closed-door gathering took place at a Buddhist temple outside Jeju. It was intended as a private family ritual, a yearly affair, sources claimed. But this time, there was an unfamiliar face seated beside Bo-gum. A young woman in simple hanbok. Observing, listening, praying. Not a word was spoken to outsiders. But a temple monk was later quoted saying, "She held the incense with both hands, trembling slightly, but she didn't hesitate, as if she understood the weight of what she was part of." And then came the moment that broke even the most skeptical hearts. As Bo Gum finished his prayer, he turned toward her, and without words, he bowed. She bowed back, not as an actress, not as a guest, but as something else entirely. A few months ago, a temple monk in Jeju recalled two visitors who arrived just before sundown. Covered in hats and masks. They asked for privacy. They lit incense. They tied a charm onto a tree said to bless those seeking answers of the heart. The monk didn't recognize them until later, when a single gesture betrayed them, the way he gently pulled her hood up when the wind blew. It was Park Bo Gum. And the girl beside him? Kim Yoo Jung. No cameras, no stylists, just two souls asking the sky for permission. The monk said they stood in silence for nearly an hour. No words exchanged, no photos taken, just stillness. And when they walked away, he saw her glance back at the charm fluttering on the branch, smiling faintly. As if the answer she needed had already come. A ring, a glance, a memory. Weeks later, Yoo Jung attended a low-key art gala. She wore a minimalist ivory dress and no accessories, except for one silver ring. Small, delicate, but deeply familiar. Some said it resembled the heirloom ring worn by Park Bo Gum's grandmother. The one passed down only to brides. No statement was made, no explanation offered, but those who saw the glimmer on her finger couldn't forget the look in her eyes, soft, knowing, quietly victorious. At one point in the evening, she paused by a canvas of a crescent moon over a vast field. A journalist asked what drew her to it. She answered simply, "It reminds me of someone who always looks at the sky like it's listening." The day she met his mother. Sources later confirmed that months before this quiet pilgrimage to Jeju, Kim Yoo Jung had met Park Bo Gum's mother in secret. It was a traditional meeting, no glitz, no brand bags, just homebrewed tea and an old lacquer table between them. They spoke for hours, laughed softly, and when Yoo Jung left, Bo Gum's mother reportedly followed her to the door and held her hand a second longer than necessary. Not a word was leaked from that conversation. But in the language of Korean tradition, such meetings are rarely casual. They are not for colleagues. They are for the woman who may enter the family tree. Not a confirmation, but something better. They never confirmed a relationship. Not once. No press release. No red carpet debut. But the story they've told the world is louder than any headline. It's in the way Bo Gum stopped to help Yoo Jung adjust her dress at a photo shoot years ago, unaware the cameras were rolling. It's in the way Yoo Jung's voice softens just slightly every time she says his name, even when playing a role. It's in the matching necklaces they never acknowledge, the overlapping vacations they never explain, the warmth that feels too rehearsed to be real, unless it's not rehearsed at all. And in the end, maybe there's no need for wedding bells. Maybe love doesn't need to be screamed from rooftops. Maybe it's enough to stand under a tree in Jeju, tie a charm to a branch, and trust the wind to carry your promise. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories are the ones told not through tabloids or televised interviews, but through the glint of a ring, the hush of shared prayers, and the way someone looks at you when they think no one else is watching. And if you ever find yourself wandering the quiet hills of Jeju, listen closely. You might hear the rustle of that charm in the wind. And if you do, you'll know what the answer was.